what I love about this woke culture, because it's very difficult to define it any other way, it's individuals that are incredibly left wing to the point of advocating for socialism and communism, but they're also so right wing when it comes to capitalism. Like, they say they hate it, but time and time again they show that they are even more cutthroat and even more right wing on economical issues than academic agent. Like, here you have a grandma, which is refusing to watch over her grandchild unless she gets paid. And she made a couple of economic observations and is basically saying that no, she doesn't want to. So now her daughter, like the mother of the child, is doing the worst thing imaginable, which is to go on Reddit and ask for advice. Because you gotta understand, when you go on Reddit, you think you're talking to normal people, but in reality, you're talking to social engineered sheep. They do not have the ability to think for themselves because they're not allowed to think for themselves. When you go on Reddit, the admins, through the holy moderators, enforce cultures and opinions upon the user base. People with the wrong opinions, even though they may be popular, will be ostracized from the group. They call that to be inclusivity. I mean, if you're pro-Brexit, for instance, well, you could get banned from many Reddit forums, right? So if you do not agree with pronouns that are zer, her, like those types, well, you get banned from Reddit. So the Reddit creates this artificial culture that is incredibly radical, fringe, and it is completely different than that of the real world. Like, if you go into the real world and you ask the same question, you're going to get common sense, healthy response from people who are allowed to express themselves. On Reddit, you're going to get responses from people who are terrified of saying the wrong thing and not getting the updates. So this is why you should never go on Reddit under any circumstance. Like, what is wrong with you? That is the first mistake that you did. The second thing is you have to understand the ideology of Reddit. Like, these people worship the government, and they believe that the government will save them from the apocalypse, which is climate change. And because of that, they have a certain set of values and rules that are different to that than the average person. Like, for instance, they believe that having children is harmful. So, obviously, everything that they will say to you comes from that lens. Now, unfortunately for them, they can't prevent you from having a child because you already had one. But they will shame you. They will do their best in order to convince others that having children is wrong. So, apparently, the wise Reddit moderators were telling this person that the first thing, if you're poor, you shouldn't have had kids. Right, so this is one of the biggest brainlet takes that I have ever experienced. Because if you think that a person is poor now, and they shouldn't have kids, how would the medieval peasant in Eastern Europe should have behaved? Like, should he have not had any children at all? I mean, honestly, like, if you're an anti-humanist and you think that there's too many people, maybe the answer is yes. But I find it interesting how the left believes that healthcare is a human right. But having children, which is a biological imperative, that is not a human right. Omoshiroi. Even with that out of the way, they will also say, oh, well, the grandma is suggesting that when she was young, like when she was a mother, she stayed home. So why isn't this woman staying home as well? And there's a lot of right-wingers as well that are like this. It's like women should stay home. And my question is, like, have you noticed the economic reality? Is it like, are you completely disconnected? Do you not have to pay taxes? Do you not pay bills? Like, are you really that detached from the economic reality? Like, we do not live in the age where the woman gets to stay home. Like, that is the definition of a luxurious and prosperous society. In a modern, progressive, ESG-friendly society, everyone gets to work. And what is this nonsense? Like, stay home and do what? Seriously, what are you doing at home all day? Get to fucking work. So, this whole thing, it's like, back in the day, you could have, like, only the father to go to work because jobs were stable and they paid well. Nowadays, even if one of the two people in the house makes enough money to cover the expenses for the other, the question becomes, what if he loses his job? Like, what if AI makes him replaceable? What if immigrants offer to work for less? So on and so forth, right? So, like, if he loses his job, at least the other person in the household has a job. So it's like a safety net. No, the whole idea that one person gets to work is ridiculous nowadays in 2023. And this is, by the way, because of the grandma. Because or due to? Due to the grandma, huh? Due to the grandma, because you have to blame the previous generation for the economic catastrophe that we're suffering today. There is no one else to blame. Like, there wasn't an alien invasion. There wasn't a earthquake of great magnitude. We didn't suffer a tsunami or a natural calamity that brought us to this situation. No, it's the voting patterns, right? Like, the leaders, our wise leaders, and the government that's going to save us from global warming, they are the ones that have created the situation in which most people now can't afford to have only one family member that goes to work. There are many policies that led to this, but to compare how things were when grandma was able to raise kids by staying home alone, and to compare how a modern woman has to raise kids today, night and day difference. The economy is completely different. Anyway, regarding now the grandma that chooses not to take care of her grandchildren. Society has changed the expectations. Back in the day, the expectations was that family is important. So a grandma was socially conditioned to take care of her grandchildren, but not only that, most grandmothers do want to take care of their grandchildren. Like, if I were to have a kid and decide that I want a babysitter, my wife's mother would freak out. She'd be like, what do you mean you're paying someone else? No, I will take care, right? Like, it's normal, it's healthy, it's natural. Nowadays, society has different values. The values of modern society is not to post edgy jokes on social media, respect their pronouns, and take your baby to a drag kid story hour, right? So we have different values, different moralities. It creates different people. This is why I love the case of Mizu from the UK. You know, that streamer which was breaking into people's houses, harassing old ladies. And the reason that I liked it wasn't due to that, but it was when he was confronted with what he did. He wasn't remorseful at all. Like, it was perfectly fine with what he did. He was considering them to be pranks. But he did take great umbrage when he was being called racist. And he was like, well, I prank everyone. I'm not a racist. I'm not an anti-Semite. And this is like the new values that we instill on society. This is a new type of people that we will create. People that can be harmful and toxic to those around them, as long as they're not racist and they're not bigots. Okay, I mean, sure. And this is another value. Apparently, the grandma is in the right. The grandma demanding money for the child, for raising the kid, is perfectly fine. Now, I have a different question, right? What if the grandma gets sick and she can't afford to pay her medical bills, but her daughter has a lot of cash? At this point, would it be reasonable for the daughter to just not pay? Or to, have a contract with the grandmother and say, yeah, sure, I will pay, but how are you going to work off the debt, grandma? Is this the world you want to live in? I think it's horrible. I don't think it's a good world. I do not think that it will create stable relationships among family. I think it would destroy the family, which is what Reddit wants. Again, when I say Reddit, I definitely mean the corporation Reddit. Like we have seen during the latest scandal where the moderators wanted to go on strike, that Reddit made it absolutely clear that they own the moderators and that they own the subreddits and what goes on in them. So when someone says something on Reddit, I will automatically assume that it's the Reddit corporate policy for what that person have said, because otherwise they should be banned. So yeah, like Reddit doesn't want you to have kids in this vision of mine. And as such, they also don't want to create like strong family bonds. No, the perfect person is the employee which is divorced, has to pay child support, and has to put in extra hours at his company so that he can pay the child support. And when he comes home, he doesn't come home to a crying child or a nagging wife. He comes home to a lonely computer where he can write more corporate emails and represent the company. Like, this is the correct path of human civilization. We have now progressed into a new age, into a new era. I guess you can say that we have resetted things to how they're supposed to work. And this is the future. Let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.